Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to Curious Sports Pulse. I mean, tomorrow is going to be one of the bigger games, and it's because of all of the preseason hype, the narratives since college. That's really when it started. We will see, we will be able to witness another battle between two of basketball's really at this point I'm gonna say greats. Caitlin Clark, an elite 3 point an elite shooter, that is beyond dispute. Angel Reese, she's a terrific front court player. And she already has all the records that she's setting with her double doubles. Uh, two different players, two different ways to go about things. I respect both approaches. I like watching both of them play. So I'm excited for this. But the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Favor taking each other on Sunday, and this was one where not that they had the last laugh, not saying that, but this was a game in the last time where for sure Chicago got the better of, or where Indiana got the better of Chicago. That is very much beyond dispute. So now what to look for now? What what can we anticipate? I don't think we'll see I think we'll see a high level of chippiness, but we won't see I don't think that we will see another similar hard Kennedy Carter foul. And if so, then I think that would lead to an ejection. So I don't see that being the case this time around. I really don't. But I do expect it to be a decently physical game still. I still expect to see um I still expect to see neither side really making it easy for the other. And I kind of I kind of think that this will be tough for both sides in terms of this. Aaliyah Boston's starting to come alive for the Indiana Fever. And this is because they made a tactical switch. They made a tactical adjustment in terms of not having Caitlin Clark run the similar style of offense to what she did at Iowa. Instead, instead she's now able to play more in the system, and she's able to pick her moments to be brilliant. She's not being forced to be the entire offense for the entirety of the game. And that has helped Caitlin Clark tremendously. And that was a really good coaching adjustment. That's something that we've been calling for since watching the first Indiana Fever game. And why is that? Why is that? And they're now opening things up. They're playing more through Aaliyah Boston. And what does that do? That allows Caitlin Clark to have her usage rate go down, first of all. That's really important. And then, second of all, we, we now see that she does have more than capable teammates. So part of the reason why the Indiana Fever got off to a bad start was in part the turnovers. And if you watch the turnovers, not all of them were Caitlin Clark's fault. All my goodness, not all of them were Caitlin Clark's fault, right? We have seen the clips now of Caitlin Clark giving a pretty good pass, and it just slips through the hands, or a teammate just misses a wide open layup. We've seen this now a couple of times. Fine, but but at the same time, there were times where she was forcing stuff too, and so I really like this adjustment that they've made. Speaking of adjustments, we are now welcoming Jordan Ramos to the stage. How are you?
Mm-hmm. Doing a good morning right now. I just took a good morning bathroom break, but yeah.
Appreciate you hopping on my game. Plus, you hopped on last night late, even after I said take it easy, and you were like, no, or no, Iraq was like, no, he's
Yeah.
coming on. But it's all good. All right,
Yep.
so we're kind of doing a because we stayed up. for all 3 hours of coverage of the hockey thing. So we're shifting gears to tomorrow's WNBA game between the Sky and the Fever. What are you kind of expecting from this, Jordan?
I'm expecting a fight. I'm expecting a fight between two two enforcers. Well, CC and Angel Reese are trying to hold him back. Like
Okay.
it's a like I'm expecting scruffles. I'm expecting some face to faces. I'm expecting some rough defenses. Like expecting a good game.
Well, now we know what your style of basketball is. You want the Detroit '04 Pistons, or you want Malice in the Palace. That's what I'm hearing from you,
Probably.
Jordan. Uh, but but I think it will be a very chippy game. I've said this,
Yeah.
but do you think you'll get to another Trinity Carter hip check? Do you think you'll get to that level?
In my personal opinion, yeah, yes,
Okay.
because the last flagrant foul thing in the Angel Reese quote, like, is going to that probably pissed a lot of the feet players off. So yeah, and social media is a beast. Is not not fun. So it's probably gonna get a lot chippy.
I'll be honest, Jordan. I didn't even think of that aspect, and I think you're right. I literally started the show saying I don't think that we'll see another hard foul like that, but you just made a really good point, and this is why podcasts are important.
Yeah.
Not only that, but you can also become a coach, just so you know, Jordan.
Exactly. Even Joe, when he's on, he can become a coach.
Yeah, Joe. Speaking of which, he says hi. Hi. I
Uh,
imagine it's like the SpongeBob thing, like hi.
yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the standings. But from last night, Jordan, I got ahead of myself. My bad. From last night now, we had the Friday. We did have the Fever beat Atlanta pretty convincingly, 91-79. And then we had the Aces beat the Connecticut Sun 85-74.
hmm
I mean, Joe is asking for the cordial invite. He will be, but either way, we've been saying the Connecticut Sun public enemy number one for what they did to Cameron Brink. But anything else you want to say about either of those two games?
Beaver's coming. Coming back. Might be a sleeper team, and the Aces might be back. Like Sun has some holes, but the Aces. I think that says more about the Aces. Like getting everything together.
I think maybe that's only Connecticut's second loss on the year too, Jordan, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
out of 15 games. That's pretty good. Let's see. But this is, if we're being honest, though, this is something of a mid off because Atlanta is in
Yeah.
seventh, Indiana's in eighth, Chicago's in ninth. They would just miss out on the playoffs.
hmm
I don't know, Jordan. There are only so many games, so I don't know why I keep having Joe's high up there. But there are only so many games, and when you consider head to head, I almost think that Chicago needs to get this one back
hmm
because they dropped the other one to Indiana. That's how I'm reading it. And then you don't want to be in the
hmm
conversation with the Sparks, the Wings, and the Mystics.
Oh God. Once you're in that conversation, you can't go back.
Yeah. that's not that's not the first time where I've heard that phrase before, Jordan. But
hmm
anyway, I've heard that in other contexts before, but that's totally unrelated to this.
Yeah.
And then once we look at the top, you've been saying the New York Liberty are still. Oh, and you said the Minnesota Lynx, or was it the Storm? I forget. Who did you say was your other team?
My other team, besides like besides like I'll try to watch more of the Liberty. Like I peeked at like a Storm game. Some of their players were really good. Like
Storm. Okay.
Mm,
Thank you.
yeah, Seattle. Yeah, Seattle.
Okay, and here we go. Java Joe himself. Good morning.
Morning, Joe.
Hello.
This is like Morning Joe, but sports. Anyway, we're kind of previewing tomorrow's game between the Fever and the Sky. Jordan's expecting. He came very short of saying that there will be a melee. How do you see it, Joe? What should we anticipate?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be all that.
Oh,
Look out now, but Fever's holding the last spot in the playoffs, which in a 12-team league isn't hard to do.
mhm,
However, um, they are holding the last spot. They've won 4 in a row. They're cooking right now, and I agree with a lot of what was said previously with the Indiana Fever team and how they're running their team. Coaching wise, offensive tactics, things of that nature. They seem to be cooking on all
mhm,
cylinders,
mhm,
which is great for them. Again, all you need to do is get an invitation to the dance, and from there, anything can happen. So,
Yes.
I did have them cooking maybe a little bit later in the season after the WNBA break for the Olympics, but they seem to have found the formula a little bit early, so good for them. Yeah, one could argue now that this break could actually um, hurt the team because they're cooking now. Just because momentum is a real thing. Shout out to the Oilers.
mhm,
That's that's a serious thing to to affect the team is that break. You never want to
mhm,
not
yeah,
be on the court when you're cooking at such a level. So let's obviously hope they're able to come back with the same kind of energy, same kind of tactics, or the ability to adjust to the tactics in front of them, because um there'll be enough time in between that break there for those who aren't going to Paris to kind of like zero in on what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right, um, and come back with that same vigor. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna see anything outside of what's normally been happening as far as the chippiness
mhm,
is concerned. The physicality of the game is um, not specific to that team. But let's also remember who coaches the Chicago Sky. Shout out to former Liberty Teresa Witherspoon. I mean, this shouldn't be surprising as to the physicality that they play with. She was a very feisty, very physical defender in her day. She's going to lead that team defense first, offense second. Um, so I don't think we should be surprised with the energy they're bringing to the defensive end, even if their record doesn't show that.
No, your body. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Your team always embodies who your coach is. Hence that Freudian slip right there. But anyway, which is why I have a lot of fear for like a Glenn Rivers led team. But that's beside the point. That's for another time. For sure, Jordan. I'm sorry. Maybe we won't get the mouse at the
yeah.
palace like what we've been saying,
Aw,
but as is a regular season game, even
mhm,
without these two teams, is super physical. So everyone
yeah,
who's been freaking out about the fouls or what Kennedy Carter did just doesn't watch the WNBA. That point blank period. But
yeah. Fight.
I literally like what Joe just said, and we'll have you comment here on this, Jordan. We've seen teams where they heat up too soon or where they get too hot during the middle of the season and then they fizzle off. And I was with Joe in terms of they need the Olympic break and then I think they'll be fine. I almost wonder if this is going to be sustainable and if the other teams will now be able to adjust to that initial adjustment. Well, will Indiana Fever be able to find that second pitch, you think, in the second half of the regular season? What do you think, Jordan?
I believe so. I believe so. I believe so. Like, I do think they are gonna fizzle out because like you can't keep that momentum up forever. Like it, I always call it like the Icarus effect. Like you can only fly so high until the sun burns you down until you go back to Earth. Like, but I think they might suffer it before, like a couple days before the break. Then after the break, okay, they're gonna be fine. They might be out of a playoff spot like by like 1 or 2 games, but they're certainly going to improve.
Okay, and then consequently, I either the Dream, the Fever, or the Sky are gonna miss out on the playoffs. I don't see the Aces or Mercury falling. So, quick follow up: out of those three teams, who do you see not making the playoffs?
Mm, the what my Fever.
Yeah, oh, Jordan, 10 toes down, saying the Fever will miss out. Go ahead, Joe. This was you who kind of led this. Are they heating too soon? And right, that their resurgence, we'll call it for that for now, really came through by feeding Aaliyah Boss and having her be a focal point more so through in more possessions. What my concern is, I hope they have a second pitch. But either way, if you want to elaborate on that, or do you think that they can just sustain this through the course of the second part after the Olympic break?
If it's between the three, um, I think the Fever get in. To be honest with you,
Mm,
I had them getting in before the season. I'm gonna stick to that, and so therefore it's gonna be, for me, between the Dream and the Sky. Um, I love that the Dream has, that kind of like veteran leadership. They have Tina Charles there. Um, I worry about them scoring points. I mean, I feel like the majority of the league, um, at least cracks 80. Um, they don't do that. Like they are around like the 76 area, as far as their scoring. What keeps them in games is that they don't let the other team score 80,
mm.
which is great. But I think you have to put the ball in the basket a little bit more than they're doing. Um, and being that, I think you, Gabe, I think you're the one that kind of taught me this. The team with the most points wins the game. So, if you're not putting the ball in the basket as often as the other team, I think that inevitably will catch up to you. Um, and I think they'll be left with the odd team out.
Uh, Joe, that was just a forced because I gave you credit for the series doesn't start till a road team wins the playoffs. So that's what that was about, I think. But anyway, we just give each other credit here. uh, that's a good point that you raise about the Dream. Last I checked, they only cracked 80 in 4 of their games so far this season. So that's definitely legitimate. What about let's make the case for what Jordan's saying on why Indiana doesn't make the playoffs. What goes wrong? And then Jordan will have you defend your take. But Joe, why and what would be the world? What would need to happen for the Fever not to make the playoffs?
Growth. I feel like if they don't experience the level growth that they're currently experiencing, meaning they plateau here, I believe that gives the rest of the league the opportunity to keep growing and then potentially ascend past where they are. So for me, a recipe for the Fever not making it would be one of two things. One, coming back from the break, they revert back to old habits.
Mm.
Um, they lose Lady Mo, as I call it, Lady Momentum. Um, I think for things to become habit, you have to continuously get repetitions, get reps. And I feel like this is where, that break may hinder them, is that they're not actively playing. Like maybe they're keeping in shape, maybe they're taking this break as a mid-season break and just doing everything that's not basketball. Um, I forget how long the break is, but I feel like the Olympics goes on for a pretty significant time. I think it's like a tennis tournament where it's like 2 weeks or something like that. Um, so that long of a break, not being on the court, it just really, it's largely going to depend on how they're using this break. If they're treating it like a mini off season, or if they're treating it like an all-star weekend where they're probably getting in some work but largely resting, or what level of break their taking to where they come back and they're not as locked in as they were during the streak. I think these are things that could hinder them. Um, so I'd say one of those two things. They lose the momentum, or they revert back to how they started the season. Those would be things that allow the other teams or the other contending teams in their area allow to leapfrog them.
The Dream learning how to score I would think if they do that, then I think that it might be GG's. I do see the Sky sneaking in. It might just be my hopium, Jordan. I'll give you the calendar. To what Joe just said. So the regular season has already begun. We have the Commissioners Cup in June. That'll end. Then we have the All-Star break in July 18th through the 21st, then the All-Star game, then Olympic break July 21st through August 14th. Then the regular season ends September 19th. They got to figure out a better way to do it. I don't have a good solution for that off the top of my head, but that's kind of weird that you basically take a month off in your regular season, then have a month of games, and then you have your postseason. So more or less,
Yeah,
I don't know. That needs to be addressed. But either way, Jordan, what are you seeing
and
here?
competing against football. That's a fun time.
Mm,
But I personally think like it's either a lot of momentum, a lot of what Joe said, and also one of the star players get injured. It's not gonna be Caesar. It's gonna be Aaliyah Boston. Like that's probably gonna kill them if one of those two injuries happen, because you lost your focal point on the offense, then you're gonna
true.
over on CC, then like a Jenga tower, it's gonna fall apart.
Oh, Jordan, great analogy. I always was terrible at Jenga, so I'm envious of those who are good at it. Good analogy,
Mm-hmm.
Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So yeah, also let's brainstorm how to fix this WNBA schedule because that's no good. But we can do that in our spare time. But anyway, gentlemen, we were up for 2.5 hours last night, live streaming the Stanley Cup. Um, and Joe, you just alluded to it in terms of momentum. I have a more nuanced take on momentum. That will be a separate video. But regardless of that, all the momentum's with Edmonton right now. I mean, is the reverse sweep? Is it going to happen? Is it here? Is it here? What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird to see a team just lose their fastball like that. I'm watching the games in between my own games. Shout out to Apex. I'm watching this happen on my second screen, and I'm just like, I've never just really seen a team lose their fastball in the middle of a series like that. Like hard push in the other direction. Um and I'm looking at the amount of shots that they're getting on goal, meaning Edmonton on Florida, and I'm looking, and he's not seeing any more shots that he has been seeing. If anything, I'm seeing I'm seeing less, and they're just getting past him. And for a goaltender, that's kind of like, it's like the equivalent of a golfer who's just missing putts. Like it's just like you did all the work to get to the, within 10 to 15 of the cup, and you just can't sink the cup. You can't sink the putt. That's basically what I'm seeing in Sergey at net. It's just like, they're still playing physical. They're still leading the game in hits. They're playing their brand of hockey, and for some reason, it's the opposite's happening. They're not getting the shots to get past Skinner, while Edmonton, with their opportunities, they're getting past Sergey, and I'm just like, uh, one, shout out to Skinner for staying locked in, right? Because you're seeing these first three games and Florida scoring at the rate that they're scoring, and you're just thinking, oh man, the difference in this game is just goaltending. And I'm not a person that, like, I don't want to pin the media into a corner for saying, do they just have better goaltending? But I think players listen to that. I think they say that they don't, and they say that they're locked in on whatever is happening. But at the same time, like the whole, hey, Canada hasn't won a cup since '93. Hey, Florida's gonna sweep these kids. Hey, McJesus can't get it done when it counts. And I think all of that rolled up into one. You know, you get that game 4. This is what I said. I said this when it was happening. Game 4, okay, lock it back
Yeah.
in, win game 5, we get out of here. You lose game 5, you're in trouble. I said, yeah, I listen, and I picked the Panthers games 4 and 5. I did, and I will say that.
But
I did say before game 5, is like, listen, if they get to a game 6, Florida's in trouble because now you have to cross the border. And all of that narrative that, you know, they're gonna get swept. Oh, they don't have enough. Oh, McJesus isn't gonna get it done. All that stuff gets loud, but it's gonna get loud in the other direction if you have to go back to Canada and try to win it there. And that's exactly what happened. And Edmonton played like it, and Florida's in trouble. Florida's in trouble, plain and simple.
and we want to give Jordan a shout out because he's the one who said this the most. Jordan, if you same question to you in terms of the game last night. But here's your prompt. Yips, 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 yips.
Yeah. Florida looked legitimately dead going to Edmonton. Like, I just saw a team just like where they got checked out during the third quarter. I was like, oh my god, what are you doing? Fight back.
Yes,
Like,
Jordan.
and you see Bobrovsky, like he's trying his best, but like, what the hell's going on, man? Like, they paid you all this money for what? To let a reverse sweep happen? Huh? And yeah, like it's gonna get crazy Monday. Like, you just hope they just beat, like, Florida better hope they figure everything out Monday, because if they lose back-to-back Stanley Cups, it doesn't look good. I'm not gonna say they're probably gonna blow it up, but like, just doesn't look
Yes,
it
Jordan.
just doesn't look good for the organization. That and Edmonton saw that 3-0, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna win for Canada. Hey, we're gonna win for Edmonton. Screw Calgary. We're gonna win."
Yeah, I listened to their press conference. I think that's exactly what they said, actually.
That and the Edmonton fangirl, like, she got playbook.
Yeah.
They found her.
Yeah, next you're gonna mention the Haktua girl as some important influence in all of this.
She'll be in Florida. The Panther might fly her in Florida.
Oh my god, Jordan.
Just to counteract that energy.
Jordan, you're a treasure. Hashtag Jordan Unhinged coming to a studio near you. I will say, gentlemen, as we close on this, as we're doing the live stream, by the way, I'm gonna do more of those, but we can talk about that later. Anyway, as I was doing the live stream, I had Edmonton -1.5 on the puck line, parlayed with the under 5.5. So it pissed me off when the game was out of hand and Buddy pulls his goalie, and then we lose out. We get that 6th goal on an empty netter. But this is just me airing my betting grievances. Anyway, gentlemen, if you want to comment on anything, Caitlin Clark, Indiana Pacers, Angel Reese, or the puck line, where can we find your work? Oh, sorry, my bad. Go ahead, Jordan. My bad.
You can find my work you can find me running until Apex. You can find me at Sports Pulse with Senor Gabriel. You can also find me at Scoutcast Media Hub with E-Rock. You can find my social media, JC6898, Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me on TikTok. And again, shout out to Edmonton being resilient for potentially winning a Stanley Cup over your other province, especially Calgary.
Hell yeah, Jordan. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, you can find my thoughts and musings at Java Joe Sports on the X. Link to my writing profile is portfolios there as well. Uh, some screenwriting, some short stories, flash fictions, things of that nature. Um, as far as the WNBA is concerned, I really don't love a whole month to wait there in the middle. I do feel like there might be a better solution there. I'm unsure. Um, I do also agree with Jordan that viewership wise, if you're going to be stretching into September, GGs on people watching at that point, because I'll be locked in on football season. Um,
Yep.
yeah, so that's going to be tough. But also it's only a problem they have to deal with every 4 years, right? So maybe there's not a whole lot that needs to be done when it's only going to affect 1 year out of every four. Um, but I'll definitely say this: there is a direct separation that's happening between the top three teams in the league: the Sun, the Liberty, and the Lynx, and the rest of the league. All of them are cooking right now. All three of them have won 8 of their last 10 at least. Um, so there's definitely a big separation that's happening there. I'll be looking forward to seeing what happens on the second half or second tail end of the season to see who comes out. But shout out to the Fever for figuring it out.
Hell yeah. And shout out to Jordan's Seattle Storm as they're trying to also sneak in there. What, Jordan? Are you about to say something?
They're sneakily good, man. They're just they're very solid.
They are your Seattle Storm, Jordan. We're out of here. Tune in later on. See you.